This conference will now be recorded.
Hey, folks, if you're just calling in, we'll get started here shortly. We're just waiting on a few counselors to call in.
I'm going to go ahead and make a few phone calls, Mayor. I'll be right back.
Is that you, Dan, Jesse?
It is. Good evening.
Hi, Dan.
I'll make one phone call.
And then I have Carrie as well. Carrie, is that you?
That's me.
All right. Well, we've got Matt, Rita, Paulina, Dan, and Carrie. We have Chad and Christy and Gail.
Full house.
Anybody else?
Is Peter there?
We have Peter on the line as well.
Oh,
Okay, Chad, are you ready to rock and roll?
We are. We're recording.
Yeah. I'd like to officially open the September 2nd, 2020 Gearhart City Council meeting. At this time, we will ask for a declaration of any conflict of interest from our counselors.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none.
I have none as well. Next up, we have the approval of minutes from two different meetings. We're going to start with the regular meeting from August 5th, 2020. Does anybody have a motion to approve or would like to make any changes?
I'd make a motion to approve with just the only changes on line 3. It talks about people calling in on a landline telephone, and maybe that should say a mobile or landline. We don't really know what they're calling in on. But other than that, I would make a motion to approve.
I have a correction.
Gary, did you say you had a correction?
Yes, I believe I do, and I'm not sure if everybody heard it, but I believe when the fire department called in on page 2, John Baum from the Fire Department Association read a statement, and he said they stand by their captain and not lieutenant. And Chad, are you a captain now in the fire department?
I am, Carrie. That was a good
Okay,
catch.
then that needs to be corrected from lieutenant to captain. And congratulations. When did you get promoted?
Oh, about a year ago.
A year ago?
Yeah. And John may have said lieutenant because I was lieutenant for so long. So,
No, he definitely said captain, and that's what caught my ear, and that's why I have this correction written on my notes.
Thank you, Carrie.
So that's all I have as a correction on those meetings notes. Or
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve with those amendments?
those corrections? Yes, I move that we approve the minutes as corrected for the August 5th meeting.
Okay, do we
Second.
hear a second? Councilor Cochran? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Next up, we have approval of minutes for the special meeting, which is the August 27th, 2020 meeting. And do we hear a motion to approve those minutes?
This is Rita, and I move that we approve the minutes of the August 27th meeting.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, we have a second from Counselor Smith. All those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And I abstain because I was not at the August 27th meeting. Okay, next up, we have the Planning Commission report. I'm going to read it real quick. Dear Mayor Brown and City Councilors, the Gearhart Planning Commission met on August 13th, 2020 at 6:10 p.m. The meeting was held via video and teleconference. All the commissioners were present. Due to an internet outage, 4 members connected by phone and 3 by computer. Staff present were Carol Connell and Chad Smith. Austin Tomlinson reported on the Parks Master Plan Committee. The first meeting was to look at overall goals to get background information. The next meeting will be next week, which is this week. A discussion was held concerning the C1 zone amendments. By vote, discussion was tabled until September 10th meeting. However, a workshop concerning the C1 zone amendments will be held August 20, which was held at 5:30 p.m. in Gearhart, and the meeting was adjourned at approximately 6:50. I would take it, Chad, you're going to report a little bit on that work session?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. Just wanted to comment on that real quick.
Okay, and I know this is immaterial, but Chad, did you change your name to Smith?
Should be Captain Chad Smith.
Captain Chad Smith.
Copy that.
I was at the meeting. It was me. She's been doing that for years. It's somebody else she knows that's with a similar name.
Okay.
We'll change that to Chad Sweet. Thanks. Next up, we've got the mayor's report. I just have just a couple of things to touch on real quick. Chad will get a little more into the C1 zone, but from what it sounds like, they had a great discussion at their work session and are looking at a new draft, improving some of the definitions in C1 zone to get rid of some of the gray areas, and look forward to hearing a little more about that. Also, just a quick fire station update. As you know, we're in our due diligence phase right now, just collecting information, vetting information. One of the things we're looking at is the validation process to make sure there's no legal obstacles in the way of building at the High Point location. I think Peter will probably give us a little more update on that. But the process, once the due diligence process is hopefully buttoning up, which hopefully will be in the weeks to come, the city staff will basically issue a report, which is really similar to the report that was issued after our public feedback period. So it'll have all the information in the due diligence, all the cost estimates vetted, hopefully as accurately, of course, as possible, bond information, foundation information, everything that we have in our due diligence list will be presented, and that staff report will be presented to the council and to the public at the same time, and that way the public will be able to read through it with the council and then make determinations from there. And what I'd like to see is, once that report is presented with all of the information, all the I's dotted, T's crossed, I think it'd be really beneficial to have another public feedback period, maybe a 30-day period this time, where we could do another survey on the location, on the data that is given, all the costs and everything else, and that way the public can give feedback once again and see if we have a path moving forward. And that's about all I've got for right now. Next up, we've got our city council reports, and we're gonna kick things off with Councilor Fackrell. Do you have anything to report?
Actually, Mayor, I do not, but thank you for asking.
You're very welcome. Next up, Councilor Jesse, do you have anything to report?
I have nothing.
Okay, Councilor Smith?
I have met with Councilor Cockrum and have gone over the personnel handbook, and given my feedback, so there's feedback besides just between Chad and Paulina, and that's all I've got to report.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. And then next up, Councillor Cockrum. Do you have anything to report?
I just have 4 quick items. The first is just some follow-up to Chad's report last month. I got some feedback of concerns about Chad driving city vehicles at this time, and I did check that out with him, and he reported that he is not driving city vehicles at this time. With regard to the policy manual, the personnel policy manual, we are making slow progress, and we are going to be completing our work on employee benefits in the next couple weeks, and hopefully that will complete that project, and we'll have something for the council. CERT team met. We did some work on radios and had a radio call in using our handhelds that we purchased for the city. We had some issues, but they're getting worked out one radio at a time. And overall, it was pretty positive. We have a lot of ham radio certs, and seems like we're getting better and better at that. Finally, I attended the Parks Master Plan Committee, and that group is working on compiling a list of important ideas and also inventory of our parks, strengths and deficiencies. And we will be looking at some mechanism for getting community feedback with regard to needs in the not too distant future. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Councillor Cockrum. Next up, city officer reports. Once again, we do have our financial statement versus budget in our packet, available online. Citizens Council, make sure you have a chance to look at that. I believe we have the police and fire records too that were emailed out on the blog. Anyone have any comments on that at all?
So
Yeah.
that's how we're, as a council member, I'm getting the reports now is by the blog. It's not in my packet, is why I'm asking.
They came out on Gmail as well.
The
Okay.
police and the fire reports aren't prepared until after the 1st of the month, so they usually don't make it out with the packet.
If it's this close to the 1st. Got it.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah.
So it's just emailed to us supplementally and then of course made available to the public on the blog as well.
Yeah, okay. I got it.
May I ask a question about the revenue and expense section?
Yes, Councillor Justy, please.
In my packet, page 23 was missing. It goes from 22 to 24. So I don't know what's there, but it appears to be missing. And I was curious, the Roto-Rooter bill for $8,275, can somebody explain what that actually was?
Yeah, I'm missing that page as well.
What page was, yeah, I am also. So we'll take a look at what that and I'll forward those off to you. We'll also include it on the blog. I'll work with Gail on that.
Great.
And then the Roto-Rooter is on which page?
I'm sorry, I had trouble understanding, Chad.
No, sorry, Dan. Councilor Jesse, which page was the Roto-Rooter bill on?
Roto-Rooter's on page 20, it looks like. Now you're forcing me to put my glasses on.
Sorry about that.
Yes, page 20.
That is the water treatment facility, and that's part of our drain field for the ferric chloride settling drain field. Do quite a bit, and we hired them to come and jet out that drain field.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilor Jesse. Any other questions at all about the financial statement or the budget? Okay. Thanks again, Gail, for supplying us with that. Next up, we have Peter Watts, our city attorney.
Yeah, an issue that I mentioned previously, and that is continuing to be an issue, is the how cities can have inspections done. And when I say inspections, I mean home inspections for both new homes as well as home remodels. Traditionally, we have been, like many other cities of a similar size or even larger size, we've had an outside contractor who has done that for us, representing not just us, but a lot, other cities in the area, and they have charged a percentage of the fees. And so we have, as a result of that, we have not had an employee or any of the expenses associated with employees. There have been attempts in the last couple of years. There are some people that believe that all of the inspectors should be city employees, that it's essentially the way it's been articulated to me is that it's a conflict of interest to have them as kind of outside contractors, and of course that could create some extra expenses for cities, particularly given that it's not always predictable what sort of what sort of demand we're going to have. Sometimes we're probably giving people a lot of work, and sometimes there's not a whole lot of inspections for them to do. They're developing administrative rules now, the state is, and the way that the direction that they are going in is that cities would be able to share a building official. So we could get together with jurisdictions in the other jurisdictions of the county and have we could all contract with one person who would be a public employee, but the direction that things are moving in is the payment as a percentage of the permit. There are people in the state that seem to be quite opposed to that. And so this is an example of something where if you're concerned about kind of the direction that the state is moving in on this, some outreach to your representatives in the House and Senate, that would be an example of something that would be important. And I don't know what the final rules are going to look like, but the trend that I am seeing is away from independent third-party officials and towards employees. And again, it wouldn't necessarily be a 100% of the time. There wouldn't be someone that just did it in Gerhardt, but it would probably be a combination of jurisdictions. But this represents a pretty dramatic departure from how we've done things. The feedback I've heard from people that have built in Gerhardt is that it's been really nothing but positive about their ability to get timely permits and inspections and help from both the city employees and then the inspectors. So I think that, to the extent that our system's going to need to change because of state law, that's something that we probably would, in my mind, would want to mitigate it to the extent that we can. and then make sure that your representatives in the House and in the Senate could understand how, the effect that this would have on smaller jurisdictions like Gerhardt. So that's something I want to keep you guys apprised of. Again, it's kind of a fluid situation, but that's the direction we're headed in. It appears, unless there's a pretty strong intervention. The other thing, of course, is the validation proceeding. I had thought that I would be done with that by now. I'm close to being done with it. I am not quite. I had a couple of other pretty urgent legal matters came up that I had to take care of. But I expect that will be filed this month, and that the whole thing will probably take around 6 to 8 weeks. So once we move through that, then we'll have more information as far as our due diligence goes, just so that folks are informed and have a full understanding of what our options are.
Okay, great. Peter, thank you so much. Obviously, the validation process will be a big part of our report, due diligence report, along with costs and stuff. So sounds like 6 to 8 weeks possibly on that.
Yeah.
And that'll give time to get all the other information together as well. So thank you. Any questions, Peter?
I just have one for Peter then. On the part with the building inspector, what kind of a timeline do you see that on? If it was to, like, is it in a committee, or where is it in this process right now?
It's with how this started is that they had a assistant attorney general was asked to do a opinion letter regarding whether or not independent third parties could do all the inspections, as their opinion was based on existing statutes that they couldn't. And when that happened, I read the opinion letter. I disagreed with the analysis, which doesn't mean that it's wrong, and it doesn't mean that I'm right. I did not read the statutes in the same way as that attorney. And this is about 2 years ago. I then went down to Salem. I had a meeting with Senator Johnson and Senator Thompson and a couple of representatives as well. Not just me. There were a number of us that went down and had conversations. And at that point, because cities get essentially the system for inspections gets certified, I believe, every 3 years. So at that point, they were going to put this into effect. Like when you went through the certification, they were going to require you to comply with this. They originally had some rules like that. The person could only do the services for 2 or 3 jurisdictions. Obviously, when you have small jurisdictions, that creates problems. So so there was some pushback on that, and then, but the administrative rules have continued to develop, and they've continued pushing for the public employees as inspectors, and so we're in the draft rulemaking portion of it now. And at the end of the day, I don't. This will impact a lot of jurisdictions, particularly smaller jurisdictions, and I don't know whether it will be a priority, whether it will be a litigation priority for anyone or anything like that. It's kind of too early to tell. I've been in touch with the state as far as, how does does this look like it's really going to happen? And it does. And so I think the key will be whether there's some compromise there somewhere, and also understanding exactly how they envision this working. Because again, the benefit of having a contract third-party person doing inspections is kind of like the benefit of having a contract third-party attorney. You know, there have been times where we've had multiple litigation going on. It took up a large amount of my time. You know, last summer we didn't have a whole lot going on, and I joke about how things weren't very exciting in Gerhardt anymore. But that's just the nature of it, is that, you know, that you only need the time of mind that you need. You guys don't need me all the time. And so I think it's going to be a matter of figuring out how can one or more cities take a system that has kind of worked for them and obviously worked for the inspector, and convert that into a system where the person is paid a salary now versus on a permit basis, and is the employee of one or more jurisdictions. And so it's trying to practically, you know, setting aside the wisdom of whether it's a good idea or not. It's a matter of practically how can this work for us in a way that works for contractors and homeowners and builders, and, you know, someone that just wants a new deck or what have you, and making sure that, you know, we try and maintain the same level of customer service that we're known for. So there's a portion of it that the state's going to do, and then there's us kind of trying to figure out if the rules are changed, and it seems like they will be, then how can we make the new reality work for all the stakeholders that are involved in this process? And that's really, when you think about it, a lot of people. And so just making sure that, you know, that they aren't, you know, that people can get everything done timely. So a couple of, it's something that I think we'll probably have to, assuming the change goes through, think about and figure out, you know, what with maybe different stakeholders that are experienced with these things, and see what we can do.
Okay, thank you, Peter. All right, next up we have our city administrator report with Chad Sweet.
Thank you, Mayor and councilors. So looking at the budget, just to kind of give you an idea of the revenues, we are down from last year by about $27,000 in incoming revenue, which is actually less than what I anticipated during the budgeting process. The difference is pretty well entirely in short-term vacation rental taxes that have come in, to which we anticipated there being less this year, but they seem to be performing better than we thought. So that's good news for Gerhardt. I think our budget is in good shape because of that. Any questions about that? Okay, so COVID-19 updates. It seems like things maybe start slowing down a little bit as far as new cases and things, especially here in our community. Gerhardt City Hall is still closed to visitors. It seems to be working pretty well. We're able to still take care of people as though we were open. Councillor Smith and Mayor Brown both asked, you know, if we could take a look at some alternatives to actually having a meeting face to face, and staff is still working on that. But so far, our initial work, you know, by asking the school to see if they would be available to allow us to use one of their larger spaces so we could properly distance ourselves. The school is not lending out their facilities here in Gerhardt at this time. So we'll have to get creative about it. The fire station was an option, except the firefighters are Wednesday nights is their training nights, and a lot of those firefighters are working folk that their schedules are set. So we won't be doing it there at this time unless we change our dates, but that's kind of in the charter to be Wednesday at 7.
Right.
So we'll continue to look for options, but hopefully soon we'll be able to meet with some less restrictions as COVID hopefully continues to lessen. Any questions there?
Chad, this is Rita. Do you have a projected date that City Hall will reopen?
Not at this time. It really has to do with the cases and what people are, how people are behaving. We're a very small, tight city hall, so we don't have very many opportunities we're already kind of on top of each other. And, I don't want to compromise my staff. So as soon as we start getting relaxation and things start opening up a little bit around the country, and especially in Oregon and in Clatsop County, then I think that so should City Hall.
Thank you.
Matt, you alluded to, or Mayor Brown, the Planning Commission meeting. I'm sorry I don't have a full workup for a report, but the work session with the Planning Commission went really well. We worked on a new draft for the C1 zone, which makes small tweaks in the type of businesses that can be in the downtown area. Maybe being a little bit more creative and permissive in some of the businesses that were already allowed, but expanding on some ideas. And that was some really good work that they did. We're being very careful to keep an eye on the comprehensive plan to make sure that we're trying to keep your heart what it wants to be, but also try to free up some ideas for people that might be coming in to the community wanting to start a business. So the meeting was well received by the group, and they will be holding a hearing, I believe, in October, and then it will come to you, the council. Anything further you'd like about that? Okay. Oregon Solutions, we're still meeting, a couple meetings every 2 weeks, and working on the declaration of cooperation. Things are coming together nicely. We're starting to go out into the community and find other stakeholders that can help us with some of these things, but everything is still on the table. So there's going to be some interesting conversations coming up, but it looks like the declaration of cooperation draft will probably be coming to the city council in either October or November. So stay tuned for that. Emergency cash container program. Due to COVID, we had to, this is for people to actually purchase and fill up barrels with emergency supplies that we take up to the water reservoir behind us. So we had an event a couple Sundays ago and went really well. We had 6 people sign up. We had originally purchased, I think, 18 drums, and we only have 2 left. So we also have 7 drums available. One gentleman bought 7 additional drums to give to people that otherwise couldn't afford to do that. So Christy and I are designing a program to where if they contact us and tell us why they, maybe need a little bit of help, then we're going to issue those drums and a year's free storage for them. So that will be coming out here very soon. We have an access date coming up on Saturday, October 17th. So where people will be bringing in their drums, and we have, I think, 7 people on that are bringing in their drums. So we're going to be purchasing some more of the storage drums and make them available to people. And so I really recommend those of you that are interested to do so. Any questions about the emergency cash program there?
No, but any way we can get the word out would be great.
We, pulling after your suggestion last week, we got it in the water bills. So those are going out, and we're going to continue our campaign with the blog. And I was also going to talk to RJ, I think he's still here, about getting some pictures and maybe helping us out with that a little bit. Grant updates. We just received another grant with the help of Christy and staff. The 2020 State Homeland Security Program, we just received another $28,781 or $721. So that brings our grant take this year to, I think really close to $250,000 for everything that we've done. And this is for more things that are going to go up in the cash. It's mass care cash. So it's going to be shelter, hygiene kits for adults, children's, infants. We're going to be buying some tents with this, some diaper supplies, generators, solar charging stations, medical and cleaning gloves. We're going to be getting a satellite phone. That's also going to include a 5-year service plan. That's going to be prepaid. Portable lighting, handheld lighting, power tools, rope, hand tools, vet shelter kit, disinfectant, antiseptic, all sorts of things. Some more first aid. So hopefully we'll be able to get that ordered and coming in near the end of October.
Was that was that list of supplies given to you?
Yeah, it was based off of some FEMA supply lists for community cash that we studied and put some of those basic things together, thinking about hygiene and that to supplement what the CERT team was doing. So we still have some options of what to buy and how to buy it. So we'll be in conversations here soon.
I got a question, Chad. Are there any grants available for some kind of conveyance through the 12-foot lake to get to there? You know, the
No.
water tower?
Yeah, a lot about that. Thank you, Councillor Smith. That's the theory on this, is that the reason that we're not putting too much critical infrastructure behind us is because we'll have some subsidence in a big earthquake. That subsidence will, be a new permanent lake, especially behind us in McCormick Garden Road area. But we do have our eyeballs on some people, that have small skiffs, boats, crabbing boats, those little things. And that will probably be what we initially try to do, is use what we have. One of the projects that we're maybe working on soon, depending on what CERC prioritize, is something called Map Your Neighborhood. And I've keyed that in on my notes to look for people who might be willing to lend us their small skiffs. So no, I didn't really want to own a boat. I thought we could maybe use what was in the community, but we'll have to talk about it as that idea kind of comes together.
Yeah, okay.
Employee handbook. Paulina has done an incredible amount of work, Councillor Cockrum, and thank you, Councillor Smith, for your input to Paulina. Paulina has officially handed it off to me, and I'm going to make some changes, add some things in, and then talk to the staff and have them take a look at it. And then once that's finished, I'm going to be meeting with Paulina as the key in this, and then bringing this to City Council soon. So if that process is going to take a little bit of time, but I hope to have more done for September, but it just didn't work out. So we're looking at the October period of time to be able to potentially bring that to the council, if not November, but we'll see how that shakes out. Nice segue. Shakeout. So the Great Oregon Shakeout planning. My team and I have been working on planning for the next shakeout. We had our kickoff meeting last week, so stay tuned for announcements on the blog, but the date is October 15th at 10:15. We will be kind of going through a shakeout scenario, tsunami evacuation. We're going to have people at our evacuation routes. We're going to have these shakeout signs posted all over the place so people can again realize where their assembly points are. The city is going to be doing some work as far as city staff during that period of time. So we look forward to that participation and thank CERT for their cooperation in that moving forward. So keep an eye on the blog. CASA, you saw that additional, they sent a thank you letter for correspondence, but that'll be coming up next. I think you folks all got that. And of note, elections, again, it looks like the election period is closed, so we have one going for mayor. We have two positions, or two people going for position number 2, councillor, and 2 people going for position number 4. We, starting tomorrow afternoon, will have a fixed drive-up ballot box. Well, it'll be a walk-up ballot box. We have a stainless steel ballot box that we're going to be installing in our parking lot here at the front of City Hall. and that will be installed tomorrow. So that's where people are going to be able to bring their ballots. This is something that the county was working on to kind of work around COVID, because many offices are still closed. I also have a statement here that editor RJ Marks from the Daily Astorian asked me to bring up. There's going to be a local state Seaside and Gearhart candidates will join the Seaside Signal for an election forum on Thursday, October 8th from 6 to 8 p.m. The event is co-sponsored by the Signal and the American Association of University Women in the Seaside chapter. And it will feature candidates in a live stream broadcast. So due to COVID, space limitation and in-person attendees will be limited to the candidates only. In Gearhart, City Councilor Polina Cochran is running for mayor unopposed. City Council position number 2 candidates include Rita Fackrell and Bob Shortman. And position number 4 candidates include Dan Jesse and Jack Zimmerman. And then I suppose at the state level, Suzanne Weber and Debbie Booth Schmidt are scheduled to share their platforms as they are seeking House District 32. There's also 3 council seats that are up for re-election in Seaside in November. And then it looks like the Signal will be posting a link to the event along with the Astorian and the AAUW prior to the event. So members of the public who wish to submit questions in advance for the candidates may do so by emailing at the following email address. That is editor@seasidesignal.com. So there's that. I've got just a few other things. Duncan's Crossing. We've had multiple things going on with Duncan's Crossing. We have a gentleman named Steve Ehrman, who I've spoke about before, who's kind of being the champion and getting volunteer efforts going and helping to push the crossing along. Last week, we had another volunteer effort where we cleaned up part of the crossing area and did some work. We had about, I think, 12 or 15 volunteers. And then a couple of weeks before that, we went through the area between Gearhart Lane and 10th Street and brushed that out again. So that trail is looking really good. Today I had a meeting. Russ Taggart, who's on the Planning Commission, has been very helpful with the Duncan's Crossing to kind of take care of the building side of things. We now have a quote and a person that is going to do the concrete work for the columns. We have, again, the price list already for the wood and the supplies to build it. We have a bevy of volunteers that are being formulated and put together by Steve Ehrman, so we're ready to go there. And today I had a meeting with the excavator who's going to dig some of the small holes for the columns, and it was with Keith Kernanen, and Keith is donating all of his work to get this done. So that was kind of a big deal today. So we're still kind of in a fundraising mode for this. The entire project to build this is going to be about $32,000 with the supplies, the concrete. And there was already almost $8,000 donated in John Duncan's name, people who did this years ago. So the city is able, through our budget, to kick in probably about $10,000 to this project through our parks budget. And with Keith donating his, we've also taken a few checks from some people, I won't name them here yet, but that have donated additional funds. So we're trying to close the gap as best as we can. And if we can't close the gap anymore with donations, I'll be talking to the city about how to move some funds around to potentially finish that project. But we should start cutting wood and hammering things together. I'm hoping early October. And let's see, so meeting space, we talked about that. Last but not least, our firefighters are coming home from California. They should be here in about 15-20 minutes. So they drove all the way from where the fires were at early this morning, and they'll be here this evening. And so there's a little celebration welcoming them home by the firefighters across the way. And we had 2 people who wrote checks with the residents of Gearhart that wrote checks to make sure that they were given pizza and food and stuff as they came home. So we're going to do a little celebration tonight about that. It's good to have them here safe and sound. They're pretty tired. They work hard. And I'm sorry that was so long, but that's all I have for now, Mayor.
Hey, thanks, Chad. Appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions for Chad or comments?
Chad, I do. Was it one of our trucks that got the tree that fell on it in California?
No, I believe that was a Seaside truck that I snagged, or some sort of tree fell on it as it was weakened by the fire. So no, that wasn't ours.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Chad? Okay. Next up, we have correspondence. We have a few letters here. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the correspondence? Okay. Next up, we have our visitor section. This is our 3-minute visitor section. Anyone that would like to speak, please state your name and address for the record. And I don't have anyone that signed up ahead of time, but would anyone in the audience like to speak for 3 minutes? Is there anyone that has called in the audience that would like to speak? Going once, going twice. Okay, folks, thank you so much for attending. Next up, we have ordinances and resolutions. We have the National Preparedness Month proclamation, and I'll turn that over to Chad.
Excuse me while I catch up here, Chief. All right, so thank you, Mayor and Council. September is widely recognized as National Preparedness Month. The city's received an invitation from the Oregon Division of Financial Regulation to proclaim the week of September 1st through 7th Home Inventory Week, where residents are encouraged to contact their insurance agent and build a home inventory and review the coverage is sufficient in preparation for all types of disasters. I've given the council some options down below, and the proclamation is attached. So the council's options are to resolve to proclaim this week Home Inventory Week, or do nothing.
Okay, councilors, would you like to resolve to proclaim September 1st through 7th Home Inventory Week?
I'll motion to proclaim that the first week of September is Home Inventory Week. But what I would like to know from Chad, are we going to proclaim the rest of the month for preparedness? Because on the next page it goes Home Inventory Week and National Preparedness Month. So let me change my motion to include both those.
Good move.
I move that we resolve to proclaim September 1st through the 7th Home Inventory Week and the month of September as National Preparedness Month in a proclamation.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Very eloquent motion on the table, and Dan Jesse with the second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Need to read anything?
Only if you choose to do so. If you'd like us to read the proclamation, but if not, it's online.
Okay, the proclamation is online, and I believe I will sign that proclamation sometime after this meeting.
Chad, will you put that out on the blog? Will you put the proclamation or the maybe even the letter from the director and insurance commissioner. I mean, the one that has the how to, go to oregon.gov, prepare now for lists and things like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, Paulina. Christy and I will do that.
Or your flyer.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Okay, great. Moving right along, we have old business. We have our, first up is our city administrator review. Synopsis of this is per contract. The city council is to conduct a yearly performance review of the city administrator. Documents were provided to the council at the July 1st council meeting. Documents were returned to the mayor and council president 20 days later. An executive session was held August 11th to conduct the official performance review. Tonight, the city council will resolve to accept or deny the continued employment of the city administrator and or make salary adjustments if so desired. Council options. The council has the following options regarding this issue. They may, number one, resolve to approve or deny the city administrator's future employment, making salary adjustments if the council so desires. And number two, take other action desired by the council. Or number three, do nothing. As far as staff recommendations, staff enjoys working for the city and would be honored to continue. That must be from you, Chad.
That is, thank you.
Legal analysis, the city administrator serves at the pleasure of the council. And financial analysis, a change to the city administrator's salary, if the council chooses, will affect the 2021 budget. Okay, so now it's up to the council. Does anyone want to discuss, or do we hear a motion?
I would like to make a motion that we continue Chad's employment until the spring of 2021. And at that time, after having a work session and setting goals, we reassess the ability of Chad to work with us. There you are.
Well, I agree.
Well, hold on one second. So that was a motion.
Yes.
I don't know if that was a legal motion. Because I don't think anything in the review process says anything about a work session. So we'll have to talk to Peter real quick about that.
Yeah, so Mayor, Chad is obviously an at-will employee, so you know at this point you're deciding to whether you want to continue to have him as your city manager. It's not a situation where he's on a one-year contract. It is a situation where he can be the city manager as long as he wants to be the city manager and you want him to be the city manager. And then as far as a how to assess his performance or how you would do that, that you would have a lot of discretion. If you were to decide that you did not want to that you want to move forward tonight, but at some point in the future you want to assess or not move forward, there's essentially no timeline to do that. There is a legal process we would have to go through, but yeah.
Correct. With that motion, then it would just be a continuous of employment. You can't really put a, hey, well,
yeah, I mean, you
try it. You could say you could try it pending any further evaluation or review.
Yeah, if the city council next year decided that they wanted to, do the employee evaluation in April, they could do that in just as you did this year in an executive session, that's how you talk about the ongoing employment of both the executive session statute is for the city manager and attorney.
Right, and it's not a work session, it'd be an executive session for.
Okay, gentlemen, let me put this to you. According to his contract, he is supposed to be reviewed prior to the budget process. So that is in the springtime. I am saying at this time, if we have a work session and set goals and he does not meet those goals in the springtime during the review of his job performance, we make the decision. I am giving him a 6-8 month time to show some kind of commitment. There's been 5 months of the personnel file sitting on his desk without any movement. I want to see the same kind of commitment that this city council has shown to the city. Excellence. And that is why I'm making that motion.
Hey, Carrie, I don't think anyone's arguing that. I'm just saying that there's a certain way we have to make the motion that makes sense within what our boundaries and legal authority is. And so that's why we asked the question. And I'll put this back to Peter. Would a more appropriate way to say that motion be until the next employee or in the next administrator review?
So what I would say is, because again, we're coming up on elections, and there's going to be at least one person that's on the current city council that is not running for re-election, and so there are going to be some changes. So what I would suggest this evening is that the motion be to continue the employment. In January of 2021, when the new city council has been sworn in and have been seated, I think that at that point, however that council will want to structure it, if they're going to want to do a work session and do goals, and then later do an executive session prior to June 30, that is certainly within their purview. Is something they can do.
And Mr. Mayor, I got a couple things to add that maybe help.
Just real quick. So Carrie, I think what we're really saying is that it'd be hard for us to make a motion with some kind of thing that somebody has to attain.
Meet a goal, meet certain standards of work performance. I understand that, and I am not a lawyer and I don't know the laws, but I can tell you that in my evaluation, I was not a very satisfied counselor. And so I want to move this to a conclusion that either I'm satisfied or I'm out of here. Yeah,
Well, Carrie,
let me be, not elected again.
Okay, I don't think it needs to come to that, but what I'm saying is I think our options for a motion, and you can say whatever motion you want, and somebody can second or not second it. But what I'm saying is that I think our options are to either continue employment or not continue employment. I don't think we are able to make determinations on what that entails at this time. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense in that light. I am trying to make it as clear as I can that we have an excellent council. I want excellence everywhere. So if I need to remove my motion, I will rescind my motion at this time.
Okay.
Can we just make a resolution to approve Chad's future employment.
So real quick, yeah, Pliny, you could make a motion to resolve to approve the city administrator's future employment or make salary adjustments if you desire in your motion or if the council desires.
I would just resolve that we continue the city administrator's employment and resolve that we do a timely evaluation before the budget committee meetings next year.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from Councillor Cockrum to continue employment. We have a second by Councillor Smith. Now it's the discussion time. Is there any discussion or does anyone want to make a comment? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, I didn't hear all the ayes. Can we do a roll call real quick? For the record, Councillor Cockrum,
Aye.
Councillor Jesse,
Aye.
Councillor Fackrell,
Aye.
Councillor Smith,
Aye.
Mayor Brown, aye. Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much.
And Mayor Brown, may I say something?
Please, Councillor Smith.
According to the contract, it is supposed to be a review of his job performance prior to the budget, so the budget can be adjusted accordingly. And I would like, because we haven't had it for almost 3 years, prior to the budget period, per contract.
Per Chad's contract, correct, Councillor Smith?
Correct.
Yeah, I would agree 100% with that as well. I think that now that Councillor Cockrum, which we took a little extra time this year because we created a new evaluation system that was simplified. Councillor Cockrum was instrumental in doing that. I think we have a template moving forward, along with the template that Councillor Cockrum's creating with the employee manual as well, that we'll be able to, the council will be able to accommodate that a lot more easily next year. Would you all agree?
Yes, I'm sure that we can get it put in the agenda.
Okay, wonderful.
If anybody has suggestions on how to make the process better, please just send me an email.
Thanks for all your hard work on that too, Councillor Cockrum. Okay, so next up we have, under old business, we have the Mechanicsum Watershed Council project ideas. And I'm going to throw that one back to you, Chad.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Councilors. So this is old business. This information was given to you folks last month. And so the Mechanicsum Watershed applied last year for state revenue sharing funds through the city of Gearhart during the budget process. The funds were awarded in the amount of $1,000, and so coordinator Angie Rissland contacted staff with a list of possible project ideas that would benefit both the city and the Mechanicsum Watershed Council, and the list was attached. So we're just asking the council to identify a top 5 of those items. I'd asked that the councilors forward me some of those lists, and I haven't received them all at the moment. So we can either discuss that here tonight, or staff will reach out to each councilor individual and have that discussion and put a list together and report back.
I have a question for Matt, though. I know that one of these projects that are suggested is how to reduce fertilizer and water usage on a golf course. And I just would like Matt to say what kind of projects that could even entail.
Yeah, you want me to talk a little golf course management?
Well, I just want to know, it would just seem to me that if you were already in golf course management, that you would already know what projects would work.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Rita. Yeah, and I'd love to just comment real quick. There's been a real cool renaissance in golf course maintenance over the last 10 to 15 years. With golf courses using a lot less chemicals on golf courses and using a lot more natural natural processes to make sure that the turf is healthy. And what you find is actually over time, if you use too many chemicals and some fertilizers that are harmful, in the long run, it actually makes the turf less healthy and less resilient to disease. And I think we're really lucky in this area because, you know, I know that the superintendent over at Gearhart is kind of a pioneer in some of these new areas. So, you know, these are areas that golf courses are using, but also I think people are using these type of things in yards, and there's a lot more natural products that can be used as well. There's also a lot of research being done on bioorganisms that you can put in irrigation systems that will actually dethatch turf. And thatch is that organic buildup that you get under the grass that you would have to aerify or punch holes in the grass every year to remove that thatch. And there's actually bioorganisms that will naturally remove that. So this is really cool stuff, really interesting stuff, and love to talk all night about it. But
Well, thank you.
yeah, you're welcome.
And Mayor Brown, if I may, there
Yep.
are, I have made a list of 5 areas that I thought would be helpful for city staff if to present to the Nicanicum Watershed Council, if the council and the mayor would like to hear what those are.
Cool.
I would.
Yes.
Please.
Okay, so the list of essential ideas that they listed out, the first 3 I really like, which is the invasive species noxious weed removal, you know, helping to work with landowners to remove species and replace with native plant species. I think we could still use some help with that, especially as we're going through the parks master planning project. Those things will start to come together. Native plantings and riparian vegetation restoration. We do have riparian areas off the Neocoxy. And so if you get some more clear standards about how to coexist with the Neocoxy, would be good to have on the website so people have a better understanding. So I like those first 3 under the prairie dune restoration projects, which includes riparian, which would be near the Neocoxy. The next items, I kind of put them all together, which was products that reduce contaminants in the water. So all those items in there for outreach, you know, helping us put together some of those outreach materials so that we could have those online. And so that would be number 2. Those 4 would kind of all come together. Catch basins, we don't have a lot of, but we could look at that as city staff. And then the 5th for Gearhart City projects would be vegetation management plan. We have a draft of that. And then once we start getting into the parks master planning, the vegetation management, how to cut, when to cut, and to promote the health of these environments. Those are 5 areas that would be helpful to staff. So the council might want to consider those, or some of those, or none of those.
That's great. Any other questions or comments?
Well, I would comment, I didn't know we were supposed to list our ideas at this time, but one of the first things that caught my eye was a fish passage barrier and getting hardened culvert for Mechanicum crossing so people can make it across if they have to go to high ground. To protect fish.
Okay.
It seems like the culvert hardening is part of our transportation plan as well.
It is, and the culverts that we have, I'm not sure how they rank up as far as fish passage. I know they're quite large, but I don't know if there's any improvement. So I'll also put that on the list and have some discussions with the Mechanicum Watershed Council about these items, and then report back to you.
Thank you.
Hey, can I comment one more time, Rita, for you on golf course stuff real quick?
Of course.
This is really cool because we're talking about fertilizer usage, but also water usage. And there's a kind of a big change in the golf industry on trying to use less water and use grasses that are more resilient, such as fescue, which doesn't need to be watered as much. And a great example of it, next time any of you are walking around the Gearhart golf links, you'll see patches of long, dry grass, golden colored grass. That's fescue grass, and that doesn't have to be watered. So there's a kind of an example of using watering less turf to conserve water. And there's a lot of courses, especially in California, where there's really severe water shortages, where you'll see a lot of those type of practices of using minimal water, having firm, fast links conditions, but also using grasses that don't take as much water.
And so are those grasses going dormant when they turn golden?
I don't necessarily know if dormant's the word, but they're dried out for sure.
But they don't have to reseed and then when winter comes to get them to grow again. You just wait for a natural process of rain coming and all of a sudden it gets green.
Yeah, it will get greener in the winter time. But even when it is watered, it'll still have a less green because of the nature of the grass itself, a less green color.
Okay, thank you. I've never heard of fescue before.
Yeah, fescue is more of a yellowish color grass. Used at a lot of lakes across the world, like Andrews and Bandon and things like that. Really cool playing surface. So we'll get into that on the golf course next time, Carrie.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
And I have one more comment about our potential projects. Excuse me. Well, I'm all about the bees, but this doesn't have to be one of the choices that we put for our top projects. But Chad, maybe the next time that the Gearhart Homeowners Association contacts you about plantings in their garden or the planters on the corner, you could encourage them to use bee-friendly gardening projects so that would really enhance the bees. So that's all I got to say. It's all about the bees, Chad.
Thank you.
We want bee friendly and elk resistant planting.
Yes. You go, girl.
Got it. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Great discussion. Looking forward to continuing it. Okay, new business. We have a request for hazard mitigation funds. I'm going to turn that back over to you, Chad.
Thank you, Mayor. And we'd like to make an adjustment to this request also, if we might. We'd like to increase the amount of the request. So staff was requesting up to $2,900 from the hazard mitigation fund, and we'd like to change that to $4,300, $4,300. The money will be used to complement our mass care cash with a purchase of some propane tanks, a propane tank cage, some cooker pots, and a couple of portable dual burner stoves, and 6 more shelving units for the connexes that we have up there already. It just would help us better organize, better prepare, and then better prepare food. But the reason for the change in the amount, the additional $1,400, is Christy and I determined that with interest, we're going to need some more drums for the cash program. So we need 18 more drums to sell to the public. These 18 will be sold as all the ones that we sold so far were paid for and returned to the city. So we'd like to make the request for $4,300 if the council would do so. Your options are to approve the request for the original $2,900 or the $4,300 as we would like, or deny the request and make an adjustment, or do nothing, of course.
Chad, real quick, the page that I have doesn't have the 4,300 number on it.
No, we just made this change today, and at the beginning, sorry I wasn't clear. We would like to request, rather than the $2,900, the $4,300.
Okay.
Additional $1,400, so that we can be prepared for our October cash period. To order the drums in time, we need to do this sooner than later.
Okay, so we would want to hear a motion for the 2,900 request plus an additional 1,400, so 4,300 total, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do we hear a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the transfer of funds from the hazard mitigation plan or hazard mitigation fund of $4,300 for purchases that the city has laid out in front of us.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor by Councillor Jesse and a second by Councillor Fackrell. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
I just have one question. How did I just had one question first.
Please go ahead.
Sorry. So, Chad, how does this relate to the grant funds that you said we just got?
The grant funds we got were more for the personal hygiene and tools and generators and such. That's what we laid out specifically. In that grant, we did not talk about any cooking facilities for the foodstuffs that we already had. This is something that we planned on getting eventually, but now that we have the food all up in the connexes, we think that this would be good so we can cook it. So it doesn't relate with that grant, other than it's more mass care products to help us through these kinds of scenarios.
Thank you.
Okay, so we had a motion on the floor by Councillor Jesse, a second by Councillor Fackrell. Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there anyone opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along. Next up, we have Councillor concerns, and I'd like to kick things off with Councillor Smith.
I have no concerns at this time. Everything will be taken care of in due time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Jesse?
I have nothing.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Fackrell?
Well, this is going to sound very curmudgeon-like, but let's talk proclamations. Can anybody just come up with something and go on the agenda to make a proclamation about anything. I see, no, this one came from the state. But if I wanted to go to city council and have you guys proclaim National Summit Avenue Week, could I do that?
Yes, you could.
Or do I have to
The
be?
answer is yes.
Could we do National Banana Split Month?
See,
Yes.
I don't know, these proclamations, I don't get it. Anyway, I'm done. That's all my only concern.
That was a great question.
It was dumb, but I was just curious.
Well, it's good to know.
Made Chad laugh.
Okay, next up, we've got council concerns with Councilor Cockrum.
Oh, I'm just always concerned about the Sitka spruces in this town. That's my big concern. Want to save those legacy trees.
Are there any in particular that that you got your eye on?
That have come down? No. Well, yeah, definitely along the Neocoxy. You know, there's a few in the dunes that I hope they continue to live. Well, time will tell.
Paulina, are the spruce aphids back?
No, not to my knowledge. I haven't.
I will say that a lot of the trees around Neocoxy, close to where Rita and I live, seem to be doing a lot better than they were last year, for sure.
Definitely.
Very happy about that. Okay, anything else, Councilor Cockrum?
No.
Thank you. Mayor Brown, council concerns. I just know there's going to be a lot of people in town this weekend and a lot of people at the coast, so I just want to remind everyone to be safe. And that's about it. Stay safe, stay healthy. And with that, do we hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, meeting officially adjourned. Good night, everyone. Thanks so much for coming.
Bye.
Good night. Have a good weekend.
You be safe.
Be well.